In order to save and ferry sentient beings, the living Buddha had been busy on the road all year round. It may be said he had no time to warm up the mat when sitting down for a rest. Wherever he went, once his disciples received the news, they vied with one another to welcome him and make offerings. He always adapted himself to the circumstances and felt at ease. He would show up as long as somebody invited him, and sometimes he came uninvited. He did not distinguish between the rich and the poor, nor distinguish between male and female, but treated all equally. According to the hearsay from his disciples, whenever they missed him, he came unannounced, and they considered it a phenomenon. When the living Buddha traveled on the road to teach people, he suffered a lot of hardship. He was even put behind bars several times and became a prisoner. What is the reason for that? It's a long story. It turns out that the living Buddha has been used to a living style of insanity, giggling all day long, and never paid attention to the majestic manners, nor avoided the suspicion of men and women, wantoning and unrestrained. Everything was at his will. When treating women, he sometimes massaged them with hands, and the corrupt Confucians and hypocrites would regard it as an eyesore. Sometimes, he incoherently spoke things to the girls such as, "You must fasten your pants." Such words were almost the daily mantra of the living Buddha. Because of this, it incurred the antipathy of the majority of Confucians, which became gossip because of the antipathy, and became slander because of the gossip. So they spread rumors to humiliate the living Buddha, saying he did not observe the precepts of the monastery, what the improper way for men to deal with women, what the jumble of men and women. Gradually, their ideas escalated from slander to a conspiracy to frame him. On several occasions, the living Buddha was inexplicably arrested and imprisoned by the police department because of this. It's said that the first time he was imprisoned, and his female disciple, Mrs. Chengin Huang, the wife of Xin Huang, who was one of the martyrs overthrowing the Qing dynasty, guaranteed him out. She questioned the director of the police department, "On what charge did your subordinates arrest the living Buddha and detain him? What crime did he commit? Is there any factual basis?" The director said that monk acts ostentatiously and deludes people. He often fools around with women and touches women's bodies, that is offending public morals. He is not a disciplined monk, so we detain him. Mrs. Wang argued, "You said that he acted ostentatiously and deluded people, but the meaning of the accusation includes deceiving money and disturbing social peace and order." The living Buddha has never accepted money that people offered to him, nor does he make any propaganda, only wholeheartedly advises people to do good deeds, eat vegetarian food, and chant Buddha. Then, the charge of crime, acting ostentatiously and deluding people, is simply invalid. As for the claim that he often fooled around with women and behaved in a disorderly manner, you must know that the living Buddha is so compassionate that whenever a sick or afflicted person asked him for healing, he always tried his best to resolve their troubles, regardless of the gender, and he never asked for any compensation. According to what you say, it's reasonable to suspect him of sexual misconduct if he dealt with women. You must know that he is my teacher, and I'm his disciple. According to your saying, you even insult my character. These words refuted the director, and he could not utter a word. Furthermore, Mrs. Wang said in a lecturing tone, "The duty of the police is to protect the people, but such deliberate and wild acts like yours are simply a nuisance to the people. I can't imagine the government officers in the Republican era are still as dark and barbaric as the autocracy. May I ask, do you let the martyrs down? Back then, we took the risk of revolution against tyranny. We fought for you people who do not believe in saints, immortals, or Buddhas. I really feel disheartened." The director was scolded badly as if his head was poured with dog's blood. He knew the identity of Mrs. Wang's origin. He had no choice but to endure and release the living Buddha. However, after some time, the living Buddha was put into detention again. This time, they deliberately intended to play a prank on the living Buddha to give him a test. Given that he has been rumored as a living Buddha, he surely needed not to eat human food. So they locked him up in a dark room without food or water. While the living Buddha stayed alone in the dark room, he still didn't forget his mantra, turning on his voice and chanting, "Hu chant nan no ami tuo fo." For the first day or two, he just intermittently uttered the words. Those police officers heard his strange tune and said, "I won't give you food and see how strong you are to scream." Later, he sang the Buddha whenever it was day or night. His voice grew louder and louder, and it's too noisy for everyone to fall asleep. After he was starved for 11 or 12 days, on the contrary, his spirit and vigor got stronger and stronger. They had no choice but to let him out. It's said that the last time when he was in prison, the police officer was touched by seeing the halo he emitted on top of his head. After he was released, the police officer became a disciple of the living Buddha instead, converted to the Three Jewels, and became a vegetarian and practiced Buddhism. Since then, those hypocrites and corrupt officers no longer dared to stir up troubles and trap the living Buddha.